Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a CS 111 tutor available now. And the time available will be a Monday from 2 to 4. And here is the Zoom link, meeting ID, and then the passcode. So for whoever need additional help on this class, you can also go to the tutor. Okay, and I will also post the information later in the Blackboard in case later you want to look for their information. Okay. So last class, we talked about how we can change a variable, right? So if we already declare a variable and we want to change the value, we can just set whatever the value equals to the data you want to change it into. Now, if you want to declare a variable at the beginning, then you will have the data type. After the data type, you will declare the variable name. And then right after that, you can also set it equals to a value to initialize it. And you will always finish the line with the semicolon. Okay, and we also did the arithmetic, right? We can combine number, or you can do calculation with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then for the divide here, you can have the integer division, which will give you the integer result, or you can do the numerical division, right, where you can find the double result as a decimal. Then it depends on what variable, like what's the type of the variable you declare and what kind of number you combine. And we also have the modulos to look for the remainder. And you can also use the parentheses, right? So wherever you put in parentheses, that's the expression you will do the calculation first. And for the arithmetic rules, when you combine or you do the calculation, that combining two integers, you will get an integer result. Otherwise, you will get a double result. Any questions here? Okay, if not, let's look at this example here. So I already put the code here. So we run it, right? So by now, we should be able to see what's going on in the code here. So we have the standard heading, right? Here's the standard beginning, and we declare an integer variable nth, and then it will see out what is 17/5. So when you run the program, right, you will expect on the terminal, wherever it will when you run it, it will print out what is 17/5. I'm probably waiting for you to get an input, right? So we will have cin, right? You will take in the input, store in the variable nth. So what's 17/5?
3.
3. So let's say we have an input 3. Actually, when you run DC, let's see, when you run it, you compile it, it will just print out what's 17 or 5, then we will give an input 5, and then it will print out wherever the C++ told you was the answer. If I see people asking, if you do the modulus, if you do 17 modulo 5, you will get 2. Right, since the remainder, when you take 17 divided by 5, you will get 2.
Why would a 17 over 5 module equal 2?
Since the remainder, if you take 17 divided by 5, what's a remainder?
Oh,
So the modulo will give you the remainder. But here, we are doing the division. So we are taking the quotient. Right, so if you want here, this operation here, modulo, this will give you the remainder. Okay? So after we store the answer, we will print out the actual answer, right? So you will tell C++ to print out 17 over 5. And we will expect the answer to be 3. And then we'll end the line. And we'll finish our program here. So let's test this out in our terminal. So let me show you the code. So this is what we have exactly the same as the example 1 here. So we will compile it. So it will ask us what is 17 over 5, and we will say the answer is 3. So it will print us 3. Now, if you look at our code here, or if you look at our program here, we didn't really use our input. And we run the way it does is we will take an input, and they will print us what's the correct result. So it would be nice, instead of for us to compare the answer our own, we can make the program smarter. Maybe we can ask the C++ to tell us, do we get the answer right? Right, so for example, we want to have something where when we run it, and then it asks us, what is 17 over 5? And then if we give an input 3, then you can have these, you can have it say you are correct. So how can we do that? So in order to do this, we need to C++ need to determine whether you got your answer right or not. And I see people say using the if. So that's where the decision coming. Where C++ need to decide whether your answer is correct or not. So here I will give you a model. So here you have if, and then you will C++ will determine a yes/no question. And then it will take a special actions. So what it does is here you have your yes, no questions. If the answer to the question is yes, then you will take the special actions. Otherwise, if the answer is no, then we'll just move on. You will skip the special action. So this is a flow chart of what's going on here. So we know that our ans will store user's input. So C++ need to determine whether the user answer is correct or not. So what should the yes, no question be?
If ans equals 3.
Okay, so we want to have the yes, no question to be is ans equals to 3. Now, if the answer is 3, then what do we do? If the answer is equal to 3, then we want it to say you are correct. So C++ will say you are correct. So is the answer equals to 3 in C++? You will have ans equals, you have the double equal sign 3.
What did you say, double equal?
So do you see you have 2 equal sign? So the double equal sign here is the question, is it equals to? So you can read it as, is it equals to? So this is read it as is answer equals to 3. So a single equal sign last class, where we talk about like the equal sign, it means assignment, right? So if you look at all the way to the top on the review, when you have a variable equal to something, that means you're assigning a value or whatever data to the variable. Now the double equal sign here, it's a question. It's asking, is the left-hand side equals to the right-hand side? So how do we translate this? Then we will have so this if statement, you will write it as if ans equals to 3. You want the C++ to say you are correct. So you will C out you are correct. And then we will end the line here.
Professor, what would happen if you just put one equal sign?
Inside the parenthesis here, then you will get an error message, because whoever inside the parenthesis here, it need to be a yes/no question. So if you just put a single equal sign, it's not a question. You are doing an assignment there, and then you will move on. Then you won't get like a yes/no answer. So the C++ won't know what to do. So the equal sign, so I see people say it's a one equal sign for the declaring the variable only. Yeah, so when you have one equal sign, it's for when you declaring a variable, initialize a variable, or when you're trying to change the variable. It's for the assignment. Now to make it a question, that's the double equal sign made. Okay, so we will change the code a little bit. So let me make make a copy from it. And I will call example 1b.cpp. So now instead of just print out the answer, we want to determine is user's answer correct. So if the answer equals to 3, then we want to see out you are correct. And then we will end the line here. Now when we input the answer 3, it will say you are correct. If we run it again, then let's say we just put 2 as the answer, then we just move on. Because what happened here is it asks a question, right? Is the answer equals to 3? And if the answer is no, it will skip the special action, and then we'll just move on. And then for our code, after we skip the special action, it will just return 0, which will terminate the program. Now I see people asking, within the if statement, after the if statement, you will put it in the bracket. So I can see like some of you already have some experience. So if you look at it here, the model here I give you is you have the if followed by a yes/no question, you have a special action. So if you're only doing one single action, it's okay. You don't have it around. You don't have it inside of the bracket. Now, if you want to have multiple command, there, then you need to put it in a block. So if you want to have more than one action in the special actions, in C++, you can combine multiple action into a block. Which you will put them inside the bracket. Now a block is counted as one compound instructions. So if you just have one single action, it's okay to leave it without the bracket. However, if you want to do multiple action after you did the if statement, then you can put your multiple comment inside a block, right? So in the curly bracket. Now, if you look at our code here, if we answer the question wrong, it will just end the program. So if you answer the question wrong, so let's say you want to tell the user you are wrong. So if you look at the chart here, okay, so if the answer is yes, it will go to the special action. If the answer is no, it will just skip this part. So let's say we just say out here saying you are wrong. What will happen here? It will print both if your answer is correct, right? So let's try this out. So if you answer is 2, if you just put 2, it will say you are wrong, which this program work. Now let's say we run it again, and then we put in the correct answer 3, it will say you are correct first, and then say you are wrong. So what happened here is when your answer is correct, right, you will have the special action, then you will continue. And if you look at our code, when you continue, it will print you are wrong. Now, one way we can get away with it is you can have a block here. So if the answer is yes, then you can let the C++ say you are correct, and then you can just finish your program there. You can terminate your program there, just say return 0. So what the return 0 does is it will just end your program. It will terminate your program. So in the special action here, you say it will print you are correct, and then you will return 0.
You have to open brackets again.
Whenever you open bracket, you will close it. So do you see here? Since in the if we open the bracket, so you close the bracket. Since after the if statement in the special action, you want to ask it to do two things. You want the C++ to say you are correct, and then you want to terminate the program. So you need to put them in a block. We see that? So pretty much your code will be look like you have if, and then your yes, no questions, just like before. And then instead of have that single action, then you will have your block of code. Here is your block. Okay, now when we compile it, and then we'll run it again. It asks what is 17/5, and let's give the correct answer. It will say you are correct, and you will just finish there. It won't print you are wrong again. Since once the answer is yes, it will go into the block, and in your block, it will print you are correct, and it will kick the user out from the program.
Professor, I moved my CPP file inside a directory, and I noticed that I just cannot execute the code. Do I need to remove it from the directory? I cannot add it to the directory.
You could move the file around in the directory. There is Linux command for it. You can just do you can just use moved mv, or if you want to remove it, just do rm. Again, any question related to the compiling the code, save it as your lab instructor. Okay.
Yes.
Professor, I have a question. Oh, like you just did, you did when you put in the block, so it'll go down the line, down the blocks to see which one it will go through first. So if it doesn't like follow the first thing, it doesn't, first block doesn't answer, then it'll go to the second block and use that as the answer. Is that how it understands it in order to give an answer?
Okay, so what happened here? Can you see the chart here?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me show you the code here. Okay, so what happened here is in your special action, you have this block. So if the answer is yes, you will go into the block, and then it will go down the line. Now, if the answer is no, then it will just skip the whole block.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Professor.
So when we run the code, since our answer is 3, the answer to this yes, no question is yes, then we will go into the block, and then it will print you are correct, and we'll just terminate your program there. If your answer is incorrect, then it will skip this whole block, and then it will just move on and then print out you are wrong, and then return the 0. So you are correct and you are wrong, it won't happen at the same time. So it's always one or the other will happen. Right? Since once you get into the block, you will terminate it after the block. So you won't go down to this 2 line. Now I see people mentioning else comment before. So that's where the two-way decision coming. Right, so normally we would just call this model here the one-way decision. So when you have two-way decision, where you will have your yes, no questions. If the answer is yes, you can have your action here. And if the answer is no, you will do some other action, action 2. And then you will continue. So the code will look like this. So you have if, and then your yes, no questions. And then if you have a multiple action, then you can put it in the block, else, and then you have another block. So in your first block, you will have whatever action you want to do when the answer is yes. And then you have whatever action you want to do when your answer is no. So you will only go into one of the two blocks. Okay. And if your block, if there's only one command for each action 1, action 2, then you don't really need to have the bracket. Now it's always safe just to put it in. So inside of each block, you can have as many or as little action you want to have. If you want to have an empty block, if you want to have no action there, just have an empty block there, it's nothing wrong. But your program will still compile. Now, if you want to have, if you only have one single action and you put it around the bracket, it's still fine. And if you have more than one action, then you definitely need to have the block. So it's always good to put the bracket in. Just later, if you want to edit your code, you won't forget you missed the bracket. Okay, so for our question before, if you want to write it as the if you want to write it as the two-way decision, use the if else statement. So you can have if, and you can have the else. And then in the if statement, you don't really need to return it, since when you have the if else statement, where like the block here, you will only did one block. Since if the answer is yes, you will compile wherever the action one. If the answer is no, then you will compile wherever the else block, and then it will return. It will terminate the function, or it will terminate your program. So when you put 2, you will have you are wrong. And then when you put 3, you will have you are correct. So you only compile one action at a time.
Wait, Miss, could I see the code again, Professor?
Okay, so the code is here. So you have the if. So that's the action 1. And here is the action 2. Why would we have more than 2 blocks for yes, no question? What do you mean more than 2 blocks? We only have 2 blocks here. 1 block for the if your answer is yes, and 1 block for your question to be no. No, I'm saying that inside of each bracket, you can have as many or as little action you can have. Right. So if you only want to have 1 action in the block, you can still have the block, and then besides if you besides you want to say you are correct, and then you want to make if you want to print something else after, you can still do it since you have the block. But if you don't have the block, then you can only do 1 action. So if you look at our code here, right, in the block, each block only have 1 action. Oops. Right, since each block here only have 1 action. So technically you don't need the bracket here. But it's safe to put it in just if you want to print something else. Okay, so let's say if the person answer correct, maybe you want to tell them thank you. And that's fine, then you are putting it in the block. Now, if they answer it wrong, it's saying, and you will print out you are wrong. And then let's say beside that, you also want to say study more. Then you see each block have 2 comments. Then you must have the block. If you if you don't have if you just have 1 single command, if you want to get rid of the block, that's fine. So that's what I'm saying before. Okay, and to form the yes, no question, you can use the double equal sign to check are they equal to each other, or you can use the exclamation mark equal sign to check is it unequal to something, or are they not equal to something. And then you can have the grade, is the left hand side greater than the right hand side? Is the
And
left hand side greater than or equals to the right hand side?
the code
less-
is working.
Okay. Can we see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can use the equal sign to check, are they equal to each other? Are they not equal to each other? Are they greater? Is left hand side greater than the right hand side? Is left hand side greater or equals to the right hand side? Is it less than equals to? Good. Okay, now let's look at another example. I believe this will be the example 2. Let's say you want to ask user to enter 2 positive integers. Now, if the input is bad, then you will tell them, and you can kick them out, which means you can terminate the program. Otherwise, if their input is good, if they do give you 2 positive integer, then you will give them sum and product of the 2 input. So how do we do that? So what do we need here? We need to ask user for 2 positive integer. So what's the first thing we should do?
Declare 2 integers.
Declare 2 integer. Okay, so since by now, I assume everyone knows the standard heading, so I'll just start with the main function. And you should know that when you do the code, then you still need to have include IO string using namespace std. Right, so every program you did, you need to have the standard heading and standard ending. Okay, so we need to declare 2 integer. So have int, and what do you want to call this 2 integer?
Num1, num2.
Okay, so let's say you want to call it num1, num2. Then what?
Give them a prompt.
Give them a prompt. So we can say enter 2 positive integers. Then what?
CN.
Okay. And we still
ANS num1.
okay, and then you can just take in 2 in the same line. So you can just do num1 and then do it again. Just do the arrow and then num2. Or you can do C in num1, C in num2. Okay, then what?
Check if they're greater than 0.
Okay, so here, right, the C++ need to make a decision to check is their input good. Right, so we want to check, do they input both positive integer?
So can you do if greater than or equal to?
Okay, so if num, so which,
Greater, not greater,
which-
either equal to greater.
okay, so which number are you checking now?
Num1.
Okay, so
Which
you can
one?
num1. So you want to check if num1 is greater than 0. Right. And you need to make sure the num2 is also greater than 0. So you want to make sure both num1 and num2 are greater than 0. Okay, so this 2% sign in C++, the 2% sign means and. Now, if you ask what's the or, the 2 vertical bar, right above the return, if you do shift backslash, you will get the vertical bar. So the vertical bar will means or. Okay. So to check is the user give correct input, we want to make sure both num1 and num2 are positive. So both number need to be strictly greater than 0, or you can say they are greater or equal to 1. So there are different way you can do it. Now, if they are, right, so if the answer to this is yes, that means the user gives a correct input, then you want to print them sum and product of the 2 input. Then you can see out num1 plus num2 equals, okay, since I'm running out of space, I will just put C out. You know what? I can just continue it here. Equals to num1 plus num2. And then you will end the line. And then you will see out. The same thing, except now you will multiply them. You will print then the product. So that's your block, if the answer is correct. Else, you will tell them your input is bad. And then you will kick them out. And then once you finish the program, you should always return 0 and finish the program. Any questions here? I see people asking, is that for two numbers? It's what for two numbers? When you did C out. Okay, so we have two C out, right? So one, I will print sum of the two number. So way it does, it will print out the first number plus the second number equals to the sum of the number. And then I will do the product of the two number. So you can put this in your code and then run it. And you will see what's going on here. Okay, so we will end this class here. So next class, we can run it and then we will continue from this example.
Thank you, Professor. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice day. I will see everyone next Tuesday.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor,
Professor.